No, but no, but you got to earn it. You got to earn it. If you're gonna fight a popular fighter, you gotta earn it somehow. You gotta fight. You gotta beat a popular fighter. You gotta do this. You gotta do that. You know. Look, man. Spence versus Brook. Great fight. Spence obviously won, and look, I thought it was gonna be a good fight, but I'm not gonna talk too much about it. I didn't talk much about it before, so I'm not gonna talk too much about it after. Was I looking forward to the fight? Yes. Did I? But I think it'll be disingenuous is to sit here and be like, "Oh, I told you guys," when in all reality, I didn't really do that many videos about this fight. So all I have to say is that great fight, good for boxing. Errol Spence. What was the name of that head coach in the NFL? They are who we thought they were. Well, Spence is who I thought he was. All right, and Brook let him off the hook. Okay, and this is where he's supposed to hit the podium in anger. But anyway, those that I understand a lot of people are quiet right now. They're waiting. They're lurking in the background. They're probably waiting on Precise Presenter to release his video where he shows that Spence didn't really win and that he cheated to beat Brook. Okay, that very predictable video that he's working on, okay, is over there in Ecuador is coming. Just so I understand that, right? Because there's just a certain, we could call it a look about Errol Spence that makes it very predictable on what certain individuals are going to say. But with that said, great fight for boxing, and I enjoyed the fight. Right? I still want to see Brook around. I want to see Brook mix it up with other fighters, obviously. Okay? I don't know about Amir Khan, but I want to see him fight other fighters. I want to see every division, man. I want to see as many matchups as possible. Let's unify these titles. Let's find out who the best is, because that's what boxing's all about. This is what makes boxing exciting. Okay, this was a situation that if Brook really wanted to, not given any pressure by the fans to fight Spence, he could have avoided this fight. That's the reality. He could have avoided this fight, and if fans were not pressuring him to fight Spence, the fight would have never happened. That's the reality. They would have given him the, hey, well, you're popular. He's not. You sell at stadiums. He doesn't. He doesn't bring in the money. Fight somebody that brings in the money, and they don't bring in the money. They never deserve the shot. Well, look, man. I mean, how do you expect fighters to become a name if the names don't want to fight them? How do you expect that to happen? Right? You have to give fighters opportunities, okay, in order for these fighters to come out and do something legendary and become names themselves. Okay, so exhibit A I can give you is Oscar De La Hoya's run, right? When Oscar De La Hoya was on top of the world and he was the name of boxing. Okay, and by the way, a Hispanic, a Mexican American, that was the name of boxing, and all over news sites, etc. So just giving a shout out to Aztec 101, who claimed that there never was, but there was. Okay. I'm just in a mood today, just to poke at people. I don't know what it is, but anyway, when Oscar De La Hoya was on top, right? Say what you want about De La Hoya, and I have a lot of criticisms about him as a promoter. I do, but when he was a fighter, right? He gave guys their shot, right? You could have your one or two names, and you could do that with any fighter, right? There was Winky Wright, which would have been the 5th division that De La Hoya was fighting in, but guys got their shot, right? And names came out after fighting De La Hoya, became bigger names and bigger attractions. So anything from and it was all cause and effect, right? Because De La Hoya gave Shane Mosley a shot, and I'm not even arguing whether Shane Mosley deserved it or not, but I believe he did. But since he fought Shane Mosley came out of that. He never became a big pay-per-view attraction, but he became a name. And because he became a name, when Vernon Forrest beat him, Vernon Forrest became a name, right? So it was all cause and effect. When De La Hoya moved up, and obviously he was able to fight Shane Mosley again. They were able to make another fight out of that. But just everything. Bernard Hopkins got more attention after his victory over Oscar De La Hoya. So everything, it was just a constant cause and effect, right? When De La Hoya was on the rise at welterweight, people paid more attention to Felix Trinidad because he was the other welterweight on the rise. So everything, okay, everyone benefits, okay, all around when fighters fight each other, right? It just, whether it's the guy at the very top, right? Whether, I don't know what, unless the guy at the very top does not believe he's the best and doesn't believe he could beat everybody, there's no reason he should fear facing anyone. I mean, that's the reality, right? If they're avoiding fighters because they're not popular enough, nobody knows who they are, how do you want them to know who they are if there's only so much bandwidth in the sport, right? There's only so much attention people could put on the sport. And people are expecting, okay, well, this guy's the dude on top, so I'm assuming he's going to be fighting the very best, right? And people, for whatever reason, associate popularity with being the best, which is not the case, right? So, for what it's worth, there you go, right? Errol Spence now, because of this win, not only is he now more known in England, obviously, right? Anytime he fights now, and people in England hear about him, right? The ones that aren't taking it personal that their guy lost, right? They're gonna maybe tune in to watch Errol Spence a little more. Because he just got this victory, all the major publications and news outlets all over Dallas, Texas now are talking about it. Oh, Errol Spence's big victory, and he's in the, right there in the sports section, right in the middle. And I checked the El Paso Times; it was there. It's just it's being covered, tremendously, right? So it all comes full circle. This is why fighters have to fight each other, right? And this is why fans need to demand fights to happen, right? If we don't pressure, look, if we let fanboys dictate like who their favorite fighters are going to fight, they're never going to fight anybody, right? They're never going to fight anyone, okay? Because fanboys they want to be comfortable. They want their favorite fighter to be assured of victory, right? That's it. That's why they make the dumb arguments of, oh, less risk, more reward, and if in your job you want to make more money, and you know what's funny about that is that, and I know this because I used to say the same thing. I did. I used to say the same thing, and the more I thought about it, the more I realized, well, I was wrong, right? I used to say the following: well, yeah, I understand, fighters taking the easy fights because, if in my job, if I could do a much easier job, right, and or do something easier and get paid the same, of course I would do that, right? And that's common sense on the surface. Of course it is, But this is the thing. My job doesn't allow that. Okay. It's not like they don't give me an option like, hey, D-Style, do you want the easy thing? You can make more money, or you want the hard thing, and then you'll make the same amount of money. Like, you're not giving that option, okay? So the only difference is that in boxing, supposedly they have that option. Well, how about this? How about that's not the reality? Because fans can put pressure on fighters to fight the right fights, okay? Fans can make that happen. And, and I've never understood this logic, because there's always this. Let's say Brook would have won, right? Let's say Brook would have won. I would have still come on here. I would still say, hey, great fight, entertaining fight. Brook won. He proved me wrong. Great. A lot of these fanboys will come out and would say the following: see, you guys were pushing for this fight, and look at this, he won anyway, right? You guys are missing the point. It's not about who's going to ultimately win the fight. So when I push for Joshua versus Wilder, right, I'm not pushing for that fight because, like, oh, I really want to see him lose. I want to see Joshua lose. On the contrary, it has nothing to do with that, right? I believe I know who would win, but I don't want to believe. I want to know. I want to see the fight, right? And sometimes, shit happens. One punch can change everything. So let's make the fight happen. Because you want, it's these little lines people put out there like, well, Joshua's already has a future Hall of Famer in his resume. Huh? What has Wilder done? You guys do realize that if he fights Joshua and beats Joshua, right? I mean, he would have that win on his resume, right? How do you want him to have a win on his resume? Like you guys are talking like there's future Hall of Famers all over, like the heavyweight division or something, right? The previous two that you could call future Hall of Famers for sure are Vladimir Klitschko and Vitaly Klitschko. One retired the belt when Wilder was on his way to trying to earn a shot to that title, right? So he was trying to climb the ladder to get a shot at that title. Just to be clear, Vitaly retired. But is that Wilder's fault? I don't blame Vitaly for retiring. The dude was old. Okay, he retired. He let go of the belt. Fine. All right. So there's that, and then there's Vladimir Klitschko. I mean, Vladimir Klitschko had a bunch of mandatories that he was doing. Okay, and he ended up losing to Tyson Fury, now to Joshua. Fine, but that's like the only guy walking around that's a future Hall of Famer. It's not like they're walking all over the place, right? It's not like he has all these options. Okay, who's a future Hall of Famer? Povetkin, okay? Is he the future Hall of Famer? Like what? For what? And again, of course, that's Wilder's fault too, right? I mean, this shit's crazy. I mean, you can't make this shit up. So, regardless of anything, if Wilder beats Ortiz, is he beating a future Hall of Famer when he does that? Like, what does that even mean, right? Like Joshua literally just beat Klitschko a couple weeks ago. It's not like he's had this on his resume like forever, right? It's just the way the cards fell, and the circumstances were different. That's all that means, right? But if they fight each other, right, and Wilder happens to beat him, then he's going to beat the guy that beat the future Hall of Famer, okay? So it's, and I'm not even saying Wilder would win. I'm just saying I want to see the fight, okay? This is why fights should happen. This is why, right? Could you imagine if we just let the fanboys dictate this shit? The ones that were telling us with confidence that Brook's just going to win anyway, and Spence isn't popular, he brings in no money, so why should he get a shot? Acting like if, it's Spence didn't deserve to be in the ring with Brook. What do you mean? He just beat him. Like, well, what do you mean he didn't deserve? Right? He just beat the guy. This is why fights should happen, right? This is why the guy that nobody really knows should get a shot. That way people could get to know him, right? This is how fighters make their name. Not by tweeting nonsense on Twitter or, you always hear, they got to take advantage of social media. Like, Spence has had a Twitter account for forever now. What do you want him to do in the Twitter account? This is how you make a name. Name me one fighter that became big because he was tweeting a lot and posting a lot on Facebook. Name me one. And somebody name me one. Because I keep hearing this bullshit about, Spence, like, I was hearing this shit. Spence should do more on social media to really put himself out there and contribute to this fight. Like, what? His contribution to the fight is being one of the only two fighters in the ring. What do you mean? Like, what else do you want the guy to do? All right, so you get a big win like this, and then you become a recognizable name. And that's it, right? So like, if anyone who follows horse racing, right? It's not like everybody knows, like, the underdog horse but before the fucking race. If everybody is, tuning into the Kentucky Derby because they think a certain horse is going to win, and that horse gets upset, because he just wasn't his day, or the underdog horse had the race of his life. Then now everybody knows the name of that underdog horse, right? And everybody knows who this horse is now. Everybody understands who he is now. Now they're going to look, and then now they're going to, like, who's the owner? Who's the jockey? What's the story behind this horse? And that's when the media starts asking questions and starts being intrigued about the horse, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? Now, could you imagine if the big name horse and their jockey and the owner got to pick who they're going to race against? I don't think Twinkle Toes there. I don't think Twinkle Toes. I mean, nobody knows who he is. So sure, he qualified for the race, but nobody knows who he is. Put us in there. Look, put us in there against, trying to come up with a fucking Running Dirt. Put Running Dirt's old. So Running Dirt's a future Hall of Famer. He won the Triple Crown 7 years ago. We want Running Dirt in the race. Let's put some names in the race. Nobody knows who Twinkle Toes is. Could you imagine that they could do that? Could you imagine Roger Federer, right, and Nadal, the two biggest tennis players, being able to tell the tennis leagues, no, I'm not going to play against that French guy over there. Nobody knows who that French dude is. All right? Well, I don't know. Maybe if they beat you, they'll know who he is. Maybe if they gave you the game of their life, they'll know who he is. Right? Could you imagine, right, the NFL players, like the big names, like the Tom Brady's and the Breezes and all that, being able to tell, like, the NFL, you can't draft that guy. Nobody knows who he is, Just draft the Heisman Trophy winners. Nobody knows who that dude is. Well, what? If they did that, Tom Brady would have never been drafted to the fucking league, right? But now they know who he is, right? You got to give someone an opportunity to show you who they are, okay, in the big stage, because that's where they become a name, right? If everything is, well, nobody knows who he is, therefore, then when do you expect this person to prove who he is, and when do you expect them to do it? So that's my video, right? Could you imagine? Okay, like this is insane. This is crazy, right? Not to mention all the big name fighters of today that got their shot when no one expected them, when they were a nobody. Okay, Manny Pacquiao, aside from very hardcore boxing fans, okay, nobody knew who the hell he was when he was going to fight Marco Antonio Barrera. Then he beat the shit out of him, and then everybody knew who the fuck he was. All right? Could you imagine if Barrera just said, look, who the fuck's this Filipino? I don't know who he is. Why should I want to fight a name. Nobody knows who this guy is. Imagine he said that, and we never see Manny Pacquiao. So we have to keep that in mind. Just imagine Victor Ortiz, because everybody knew he was the up-and-coming future golden boy. Like they were calling him the future De La Hoya, right? Maybe the fishnets part of it. I don't know about the boxing legacy part of it. but Victor Ortiz, right? Could you just imagine the golden boy said, nobody knows who Marco Maidana is. What the fuck? Like, what? Put him in there against some old name. Like, Maidana would have never gotten a shot. Right? He would have never gotten a shot to prove to people who he is. Like, hey, I've arrived. This is who I am. Right? Guys got to get the shot so we can know who they are. Right? That's the way it's always worked. That's the way it should always work. Right? And that is my Sunday rant of the day. Hey, anybody have any updates, all right, on this special video that's going to come out about how Spence cheated to win? I'm waiting for it, right? Anyway, I'm out.